Okay, the big one, like next release. We're calling it AMP 3.0. It's gonna be, our goal is to have it within the Q3 2026. And one of the key underlying capabilities that we will have in that is a full agentic coverage of all the existing standards that is needed for any of the agentic workflows. So what does that mean? So one is making the agents like transaction ready and production ready is one of the goals. And so like we were discussing the primitives, the first thing we're doing is like primitives of all the IB Tech like standards will be ready for agentic AI workflows, like whether you're using it for media buying, whether you're using to create packages or media kits, whether you want your agent to just focus on deals management, whether you want them to do some real robotic process automation like campaign execution, like setting up GAM campaigns, looking at the reports, reading the reports, or for buyers, like you want to do inventory and pricing discovery, or you want to do the creative management across a buyer and a seller to make sure that the creative is ready to serve. So all of those capabilities, basically most, like pretty much everything already exists in the existing standards. We are making sure that they are the extensions, if there are any extensions needed for specific agentic purposes are already included, and all of them can then will pushed into the primitives file. So you can just take that primitive file and build. If you want to build your own stack, your own agent, all you'll need is that primitive files, which will give you all the schemas to build off of. You want to add anything there, Aiden?
Um, no, maybe just to echo Shailley that what we've kind of seen that the more you look at this, uh, the more what's needed for agentic and what's needed to kind of improve the non-agentic side are very similar, and most of what we need for agentic, is we have covered in various ways today. So in many cases, the extensions or additions are quite small, but these primitives will kind of help both sides. The other piece that where I think this is critical is what we're seeing more and more, and I think we will see for quite some time is it's not agentic or not agentic, right? There's like if you look at somebody's advertising spend, an agency's advertising spend for a particular advertiser or a publisher's, supply distribution, like some of it, some of it is going to be or is being handled agentically, some of it is not. Some parts of the process are handled agentically, some parts are not. So one thing that as we build out AMP 3.0 and as Shailey mentioned, the primitives and extensions across all standards is that these work seamlessly together, right? Across agentic and non-agentic, and where it's not like you're creating two separate worlds that we're famous in ad tech for creating separate worlds that don't interact with each other very well, right? And so Shailene and teams are working very hard to not do that in this case.
Yep. And the next focus for that release is the hardening of all the deterministic guardrails in agentic. So like we've done for pricing, similarly, like when sellers is presenting their packages to a buyer agent, you want to make sure that LLM is not thinking of packages that don't exist. This was a famous, wasn't famous basically. It was a case where in one of our meetings, one of the like I don't want to name any brand, so I'm not going to give more description on that. But what we were told was that somebody went to a car dealership with a printout from ChatGPT and said that I want this model and these packages in that model, and the dealer was like, that model doesn't exist, like that combination of packages doesn't exist. And he was like, no, ChatGPT gave me, and then this has to be correct. And they had a big fight about it. Like it was very hard to explain to the customer that LLM just thought of these features. Like we don't make that car. See that combination. So we don't want that same thing to happen with advertising that, packages or details of the order that you're placing or the media buy or the details of the deal that you're placing is kind of misplaced or has some LLM has thought about it that be a better thing, but it is not actually on the offer. So make sure those kind of deterministic guardrails in different areas is what we are going to make sure we start including that. And this is going to be an ongoing thing. So everything will not be there at 3.0, but we'll start with 3.0 and then we'll keep on enhancing that. The other thing I think Aidan mentioned earlier was the item potency. So we're going to double down on that and have like more bulletproof item potency for data integrity across agents. So if you wanted to change your deals every minute, you could do it without worrying about, I don't know if you'll do it every minute, but you would be able to do it every minute without worrying about losing any data or misplacing any data in the changes that you're making. Um, and then the next thing is standardized methods. So this is another feedback that we've been getting is like, well, all the agentic is fine, but I need to make sure that I'm dealing with the right agent. I also need to be able to discover new inventory through agentic. Sellers want to be able to be discovered by buyers without disclosing all the details that they already have. Like they may not want to declare the exact pricing, but they do want to tell the buyers, like, I have this kind of inventory available. So we're going to introduce these standardized methods for, how do you identify an agent? How do you do progressive authentication, where at the first interaction, an agent could just share their media kits and not the actual pricing and actual details. Only once they have authenticated and they know that they have a commercial agreement in place and everything, that they can go further and then start doing the actual transactions. And then at the same time, like we'll do authorized seller validation. We already have like HTXT and sellers JSON already have all that information. We'll just use that and to be able to do the authorization. So those are kind of four big areas that we'll be focusing on for the next big release 3.0 that's coming in Q3. Aidan, do you want to add anything? Anything I missed?
No, it's good. Very, very excited to get this out.
And so, do you want to talk about the Tech Lab registry? Like I said, like there are 40 agents that are now registered. So you can go to the registry, you can find who the agent is, who the developer of the agent is, or the owner of the agent is, what are the tools that they offer, and what kind of capabilities they have. Uh, and the details of how do you connect with that agent, whether it's an MCP server call or another method. Those are all there in the registry. Registry is available publicly now, and it's also uh, available as a REST API and an MCP server. So if your systems want to be able to find new agents, they can use either the REST API and get details about the agents matching certain criteria, or you can use the MCP server and say, like, I want agents that create audience for me, and it'll match with the tools that are available with the agents to see which agents are going to provide you audience details. So that's all there. Like TikTok agent is there, Meta agent is there, CAMS ads MCP server is there, Equator, PubMatic, Optable, Distillery is there. Distillery is actually I played around with this. Like if you want to play around with the MCP server, Distillery is kind of gives you some capabilities as an open, and you can actually play around with it and see how the agentic transactions work for audience creation. So that's the agent registry. Please make full use of it. If you have an agent, use it to discover other agents that you can work with. If you have not yet registered, I would encourage you to register, because this registry is going to be at the center of a big part of the discovery and agent identity. So in the future ecosystem, this will become a key pillar of a future ecosystem of agentic. Anything
Yeah,
else, Aidan?
maybe. Yeah, no, that's great. Maybe just building on the registry. I know that we have a bunch of planned enhancements to the registry. I don't want to speak for what they are quite yet. We'll let Matt get to that. But as I've gone through working with our partners, as we've gone through, one of the sort of very common things is we're building our agent, we get it going, and then like, okay, how can I find other agents? How can I find partners who have an agent? And this is the way. it's not a for fee service. IB Tech Lab does not, make money off of you registering your agent or spend through agents that meet via the registry. Um, but it's that expanding that will be, I believe, a real key to how we can all grow increase the span of agentic um, use. So if also, you may be part of working group or something, but either regardless, if there are things that you would like to see in the registry, we've had a lot of feedback already of capabilities and roles that it can play. But we'd love to hear from you as to like, hey, this is the LinkedIn of agents, or whatever you want to call it. Like, what would you like to see there? Love to get your feedback.
Yep. Okay. So that was all the content part of AMP 2.3 release. We are also doing a lot of other work to support this transition to agentic advertising in the industry. One of them is the AMP pilot program, where we want to collaborate with you on your agent development. We want to connect buyers and sellers so they can actually do a pilot and a test of transactions. And we are happy to kind of do joint press activities. If you've developed an agent based on AMP and you want to promote it in the community, we are happy to help support you there in any kind of way if that's possible. So all you have to do is like the QR code's there, you can register, and then we will get in touch with you. The other, of course, this is our sort of bread and butter, running working groups. So you can join the task forces for informing and influencing the AMP orchestration layer, supported transactions, for providing your inputs to the AMP buyer and seller agents, which you can do on the open source. You can submit an issue, submit a PR anytime you like. But if you want to discuss before you want to submit something, the agentic task force is the place to do that. And about trust and transparency, you'll find like the peers, and you can have a discussion before submitting your requests there. We regularly present the developments on the agentic side to this task force and get their feedback on a regular basis. Agentic audiences discussed there. And now we are working on ARTF version 2 in the task force, which is the next evolution of ARTF on what kind of use cases, what kind of capabilities a container should have uh, uh, for agentic executions in the bid stream. It's pretty simple. Just email to membership@iabtechlab.com to join the task forces. The other thing that we're doing is kind of bringing community together at the Ad Lab in New York with the agentic boot camps. So we have 4 more left in the year if you have not participated before. This is where we give more detailed deep dive updates on the work that we are doing on the agentic buyer and seller agents and other agentic work, as well as we invite like at least 2 companies to talk about how they are approaching agentic. So it's a very good place to understand like how agentic AI capabilities are being integrated into the advertising tech stack and the advertising and the business of advertising. So these are like 2-hour workshops, 3 to 5 p.m. typically in New York. And if you want to volunteer your office to host, we are happy to kind of host other places. The last one we had was a TikTok office. It was a pretty well attended session there. So it's New York. These are designed to be in person. There's one in London too, but these are designed to be in person. So we do not do like virtual on this. We want more engagement, more discussion, and more deep dive here. So please look out for these agentic boot camps. Register if you have not registered yet. And if you have an office that you want to use, like if you want to help us host at your office, we're happy to come to your location too. Uh, Finally, like some of the resources, a bunch of QR codes that you can go and learn more about AMP, the buyer agent, the seller agent, and the actual repositories. If you're more technical, you can go direct to the repos. All right, I think we'll call it a close for today. Have a good rest of the week, everyone, and thank you once again for joining.